I want to talk about experience points today. And I legit think that experience points could actually help solve the problem that we have with players leaving armories and not attending anymore. Why? Because if you may remember, back in the day, experience points you got for playing games. Every single game that you play, you get experience points. Armories, or even just a on-demand, you get one. And when you go to big events, you get 6. I actually think it's you can argue that maybe this was good, but experience points not mattering anymore for qualifications for big events like nationals did lower the armory attendance during those 90-day windows. So what happened in the past was that there was a 90-day window before events like Pro Tour and Nationals, and people with top experience points gain or top experience points during that phase in the leaderboard nationally, internationally, they will qualify for those events. That brings issues with it, right? The issue is that the armories are well visited and there are a lot of people playing the armories, but at the same point, it's ultra competitive. And I don't think it created an environment that you should have at an armory. It was very sweaty. People just needed to win every game. It got really tense. People just conceded games as well because they wanted to give their bodies XP. It was a grind. And I understand for that reason that they did not extend that they actually went into making XP not matter anymore. Now, they did say, eventually, we're gonna do something with that experience again, and we're gonna make it matter again. We have ideas, and we're gonna get there. Ozilio. So, I think experience points in the form that we had them, they were good and they were bad. Because the bad thing was that it created an environment that people didn't want to be in, but it did bring people to the armories. And people at the armories is kind of an issue a little bit these days. We do have a problem that not as many people are attending armories, and I talked about that in a video not too long ago. And I think one of the issues is that people who are in testing teams that compete for high tier events, they don't go to armories anymore. Instead, they spend their time testing team internally. But I think it's important to bring everybody back to the armory because it's a grassroots thing. You want to have a big attendance and you want to have the community interacting with each other. So then the question is, what do you do with experience points to make them matter again? To not only make them matter again, but also to bring back people to the armories. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. To be fair, those pros would stomp new players unless they didn't try. Yes, that is true. But I also think there is space for casual events that you can put on other days. And you can make the armories more competitive. And you can have new player events outside. It's also how you play, right? Winning against somebody is one thing. But how you win against them is quite something else, and how you conduct yourself, how you help them out is more important than if you win against that player. So I have 5 points today, 5 things that I think experience points could be used for, and I'm gonna go through them one by one. Point number 1 is, and I think this one is pretty obvious, that you could redeem the experience points at the prize wall of big events. So at a Pro Tour, at a Calling, sometimes even Battle Hardens at the World Championship, sometimes at Nationals, there's a prize wall. You play side events, you get tickets, and you can go to the prize wall and you can redeem those tickets for prizes. Why not let people redeem experience points for prizes on the prize wall or exchange it for tickets? So let's say you reach a milestone with your experience points, you can redeem it. And I think there's other games that in the past have allowed for something similar. That's one thing you could do. Now, obviously, the problem that you would have with that potentially is that people that don't go to those events, they can't benefit from this. There's a workaround for that. What you could do is you could allow for an online shop where you could redeem those prizes. And what I'm thinking here specifically is, let's say you reach 500 XP. You can redeem that for something. You reach 1000 XP. You can redeem that for something. You reach 2000. You can redeem that for something. And I do think that would bring people in. Because tickets equals money for organizer. Yes, that is a fair point. But maybe, you know, if somebody redeems a prize against experience points, you can track that, and LSS could redeem the organization running the big event for that. It's possible. It's possible. That's option number 1. Then there is option number 2. Another thing that you can do is seasonal leaderboards. So not too long ago, at the start of 2024, we had this really cool thing when Heavy Hitters released, where people would play their heroes from Heavy Hitters. If they win tier 2 events, you go on a leaderboard that was tracked over the whole season. And then at the end of the season, if you played that hero, you got a special art edition Command & Conquer. Now that doesn't translate one-to-one what I'm thinking of, but what you could do is seasonal campaigns, like leagues or something, where you could see who gets to the top of the leaderboard, and the person that gets to the top of the leaderboard wins something. And it's actually really easy to implement because the system is already there, right? LSS already has a way to measure 90-day XP gain, because that's what they used in the past for nationals, etc. So then converting this into seasonal prices is actually very easy, or should be easy, depending how the system is built. One thing that we would need to do here is, of course, you need to figure out, do you align all the events, right? So some events these days, like nationals, you get 6 XP for a win, where armors only give you 3. And of course, people that have the means to go to big events would be at an advantage in a system like this, because they can just grind out games at big events. And then they get more XP, and they would probably be then at top of the leaderboard. And that probably wouldn't necessarily be fair. But you could easily work around that as well by saying, okay, every single win gives you 3 XP. And that would be an easy change, because it doesn't matter today anyway. You don't get anything for XP anyway, so make the change around across the board anyway. We kind of have the same problem here that we had with the 90-day XP. It could get very sweaty. If you need to be at the top of the leaderboard to win something, then the issue is that this could be manipulated as well, right? If you run armories locally and somebody approaches the top of the leaderboard and they kind of just need that little bit, what's stopping the whole local community to, whenever they play a game, to just concede to them? You probably couldn't police that. Or it creates an environment where people just have to win. Coming to the end of the season, they just have to win. And I'm not sure if that creates an environment where that LSS doesn't really want for an armory. But it's something to think about. Pockets. For XP points, if they were used as currency for prices, I recommend XP points to be 1:1 ratio for the US dollar, primarily because during international events, it is easier to value prices based on the US dollar. I think there needs to be more thought into it, how much these experience points are worth. If you say 1 experience point is worth $1, that's a lot of value. There are people out there with 2,000-3,000 experience points. That's a lot. And people would be grinding. I'm not sure. In my mind, 1 experience point equals 10 cents US dollar. I don't know, right? Somebody has to think about it. These are just ideas. I'm throwing them out there. But I think there is something there that you can do with this. So these are my first 2 points. My third point is there could be, at big events like nationals, at callings, at pro tours, exclusive side events for seasonal experience points gain. You gain a certain amount of experience points in a pro quest season. Then you can use those to redeem to enter a side event at a big tournament, which is only open to people who have those experience points. You gain, I don't know, 180 experience points in that season, in that 90-day window for the pro quest season. You can then redeem that for entering a side event. And let's say, as an easy example, it's an alpha draft. Of course, that's a pipe dream, right? And it's only because the value, right? The alpha draft is going to be much more worth than 90-day XP, but it could be something. And the nice thing about this is they started doing side events and promos exclusively to side events at nationals. I still think that it's not quite there yet for people to attend nationals. I think they're trying to get people to celebrate nationals, right? It's like a national celebration. You get people from around the community, everybody's attending. And that's a really cool idea. I think the promos that they did this year is a step in the right direction, but I don't think it's enough. Now imagine at nationals, there are side events that you can enter with those experience points with prizes that you can only get if you enter that side event. I think that could be something really cool to attract more players to attend nationals or side events at big events, aside from just buying tickets and getting into it. Of course, you still run the normal side events that you can get in with tickets and buying in, etc, etc. But still, I think this would be fairly easy to do. Griffin, sounds good to have unofficial tourney that way. It could be an option, right? And I think there's a potential for it. And I'm thinking about this stuff because if you give an incentive for people to play games, a lot of games, then you have more attendance at armories again. So not am I only trying to give ideas for what to do with XP. What I'm trying to do is to show reasons for people to come back into the armories, right? Because that's really one of the big points. 3 points. I think they're valid. I think they bring value for the game as it is today. And also, they're fairly easy to do with the infrastructure that's already there. And I think that's really important. Whenever I bring up these points, like my point is lower the effort that has to be put into this. So not a lot has to be done, because the bigger the effort that has to be done to put one of these in reality, then the less it's going to get done. Frogler, they had something akin to it called PW points. They long since abandoned them. Who is they? That's not LSS, is it? All right, so that was 3 points. Let me go to point number 4. Point number 4 is give people discounted event tickets for experience. Whatever the experience point is, and however you want to do that, lifetime, milestone, or experience points, seasonal again, make an entry to an event cheaper if people have a certain amount of experience points. And that could be 5% or 10%. It could be anything. But that would be a really good way of doing it. And by the way, this is the first time I win a game while talking about one of these topics. Like, I've done this. This is the 3rd time that I'm doing this. And the first time I'm actually winning a game because I'm so distracted doing this, right? So I'm actually not focusing on the game at all, and I'm surprised I was able to win this game. Hey Mitch, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing? You used to be able to qualify for big events in XP and they took it away. That's exactly what I was talking about, right? That's what they did. You were able to enter tournaments with XP, so you were able to enter a pro quest. If you were like top 50 world, no, not pro quest, a pro tour. If you were top 50 world in XP in that period, but they got rid of it, right? What I'm proposing here is, well, what do we do moving forward to reintroduce XP and to make XP matter again? One thing that they could do is discounted event tickets, right? And you can exchange X amount of your XP for event tickets. Let's say an entry to a side event at a pro tour, a CC, which is usually the cheapest. You can exchange 500 experience points and go in free. Or you can exchange 200 to get like 50% off. Something like that. They have plans to allow us, they being LSS, allow us to submit deck lists via gem directly to tournaments. They mentioned this a few months ago that this is in their plans. This is something they want to do. At that point, if they do this, then why not go a step further and let the tournament organizers know how many experience points you have and let that exchange happen. Now, this is my 4th point because this needs a bit more work to happen. But why not let people use their experience points, the money that they spent on the game playing local events, because they're spending the money, right? They're going to the LGS. Why not let them redeem that at big events? And that could also increase the attendance at big events. Griffin, I would like it more if you collect points to be able to join different tournaments. So people with low points can play other tournaments than the big one. And that was my point number 3, right? That is an option. And I think it's a decent enough option that something that could be done. I have one more. So we talked about Price wall items, maybe exclusive to XP or maybe an even discount as well. Regional seasonal leaderboards with a specific price, like a unique promo that the regional leader gets. Exclusive side events at big tournaments that only people with a certain amount of XP in that period can enter. And discounted event tickets. And the point number 5, finally, is why not donate to a good cause? Let players donate their points to a good cause, right? So what LSS could do is say, this year we have these 3 charities that we want to support. You can spend your XP points to support a charity of your choosing. And every XP point that you redeem against one of these charities, we match with 1 cent, 10 cents, $1. This, of course, this benefits the greater good and not the player itself. But I kind of like the idea because it's nice to give back, right? And why not? Why not? It's at least the system is being used. The experience are being used for something, and the community comes together to do something good, right? It's like this community effort where you can come together to do something good for the planet. Griffin, there's a problem with charities that some are more fitting with some countries and not others. That's a challenge. Absolutely, right? I don't want to discuss that away. It's not that simple, but this is doable. And with an organization like LSS, they do have the time, they have the resources to make this happen. So here you have it. 5 points, how I think experience points can be used to bring people back into the armories and to make it matter again. Discount side events, seasonal leaderboards, XP exclusive side events at big tournaments, donate to charities, and let people redeem the experience points at big events or via an online shop for price wall items. I think there is a lot of potential there. Let me know what you think. Are these ideas good? Are they bad? Do you have other ideas of what you would like to do? Or what would be good? I'm keen to hear.